Hello and welcome to the brand new show On the Road With. My name's Gareth and I'll be your host. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll be talking to a lot of different touring professionals in the performing arts industries, the entertainment industry, about what touring means to them, the different people they've worked with, how they got into it in the first place, and what it means for their mental health. I've got some great, really exciting guests lined up for you on this first series. And my guest today is a man who is a founder member of the Haggis Horns, who've played with, among others, Amy Winehouse, Mark Ronson and Jamiroquai. He's worked and toured with the very best in the business, and I'll be talking with him about his new album, how the Haggis Horns started, and what he's been doing during the lockdown. So please sit back and enjoy my conversation with fellow trumpet player Malcolm Strachan. Malcolm, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, it's cool. Looking forward to it. Yeah.
And you're in your garden. You were telling me before we went on here.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I've just I can't get out that much at the moment, but just trying to get as much sun as I can at the moment.
I mean, that's one thing that a lot of people I know, whether they're musicians or artists or not, have been doing through the lockdown period, is they've been getting outside and getting a bit of time to themselves. I know I've been getting a bit of time to do a lot of reading, which I don't normally get to do. And how's lockdown sort of treating you musically? You know, have you been? I know some musicians have been very productive and proactive, and others haven't. How has it treated you?
Well, it's been all right actually. I mean, yeah, it's a bit weird not having any gigs. You know, like I'm in the same boat as everyone else. Everyone's gigs have stopped, but I'm kind of lucky. We've got a studio in the basement, and I've been getting in touch with people, and they've been wanting a bit trombone. I play obviously both valve trombone and trumpet. Yeah, and been doing a few sessions in the basement, which has been keeping me going, and just been trying to get my name out there and just letting people know that I can still do recordings. So we've been doing a few sessions here and there, which keeping me going. Obviously my income is massively reduced like everyone else, but on the universal credit now, and we're getting some royalties in, which is keeping me going. So it's not all bad, you know. I'm just trying to keep positive.
If you don't mind me asking, is that royalties from the from sort of previous stuff you've written yourself, or is it PPL or?
Kind of both.
Bit of both,
it's kind of like pop tracks I've played on, which comes in every 3 months. Yeah, and Haggis Horns royalties as well. So
it's quite a nice little surprise, isn't it? With PRS and PPL, if you make your money from playing live mainly, it's quite a nice bonus. You don't plan for that money, but it's quite nice when it drops in the bank account, even if it's only a small amount, isn't it?
Well, exactly. You know, I'm a self-employed musician, so it's not an easy way to make a living, but it always comes in handy. When it comes in, it all seems to come in at the same time as well.
This wasn't just a question that's come to my head. This wasn't on the plan that we sort of discussed, but you mentioned you're a trumpet and valve trombone player, so exactly the same as me. And
right.
And with singing as well in my case. And then I kind of, as I'm sure you do, I dabble on other instruments, but I wouldn't profess to be fantastic on them. But do you find that the playing more than one instrument, even within the same family, has opened up more touring opportunities for you, more work?
I think so. I mean, I've always mainly been a trumpet player, but I thought, well, why not try and kill two birds with one stone and buy a trombone as well, you know? Yeah. And it comes in handy for pop sessions, you know. It's
I bet it does.
My tone's all right, and it's the same key as a trumpet, so it comes in handy. So I just keep it in the studio, and when the work comes in, I can play both instruments. Do you ever get
any stick from slide trombone players? I know one of my best mates is a slide trombone player, and he despises my valve trombone, and I can't and I'll put a picture up of in the session today, and I'll put 2 photos on Facebook, one of me with a trumpet or a flugel and another with a valve trombone, and he always comes back going, "What is that thing?" or "What is that effing thing?" and that kind of thing. So
well, that's jealousy, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah. Well, the thing is, what I found about them is that it was actually a slide trombone player that said this to me, is that there's pros and cons to each instrument. It's not like one's great and one's crap. The valve trombone is a bit more nimble, the slide trombone's a bit clumsy. But at the same time, if you want that smoothness that you get, and obviously the slide, the glissando, then obviously the slide trombone's going to be better. So it does depend on what kind of work you do,
Exactly. I mean, there's been a couple of times where I've been on a session and I've wished, I wish I could have, I wish I could slide up to that note and get that, that trombone effect. But I've never learned the slide trombone. I mean, I'm sure it won't be that hard, but I thought valve trombone's the kind of easiest way to do it.
There's your challenge in lockdown.
I know. I'm going to have to get a slide trombone. I will at some point learn the slide trombone.
Yeah, it's you get these what they're called super bones, don't you? Which are both. Have you seen those on online? James Morrison plays one, and
I'm not sure if you've seen that.
Yeah, I'll send you a link afterwards. They're pretty nifty because you can well, obviously, like we just talked about, the advantages and disadvantages. You can if you've got a fast moving passage where the valves are going to be handy, or a big staccato phrase where the valves are going to be handy, and you want to be really precise, and then you're going into a real nice smooth legato bit. You can switch between the two. It's quite cool.
Oh, that sounds great.
So I've got my eye on one of those but I'm banned from purchasing musical instruments by the wife at the minute. So, so just on with the lockdown talk. Sorry, we got sidetracked a bit there. With the lockdown talk, what do you think after the lockdown? Obviously, everybody's got used to live streams and bands. Yeah. I mean, I was part of a track today that we did as a kind of helping raise money for Help Musicians UK. Where everybody sends a video and then they're recording in, and then the person in charge of it puts it together in a sort of collaborative video kind of thing, and everyone's getting used to that, and I'm getting great comments when I'm doing my live streams and stuff. Well, firstly, have the band or yourself, Haggis Horns that is, or yourself, got any plans to do anything like that? And secondly, do you think it will carry on after the lockdown, that will be the go-to format, and maybe live music might, people going to see bands in venues might decline if the venues are still there, of course?
Oh, it's so hard to tell, isn't it? Nobody knows how long the lockdown's going to last. I'm seeing a lot. I'm seeing a lot of people doing more live music in their houses and stuff. I probably should have a go at that myself, really, but I've never kind of, I don't know, I've never gone down the route of filming myself doing videos and stuff like that.
I think it's I'm hearing reports on WhatsApp groups I'm in with different bands are playing and stuff, and they're there's a lot of reports saying it's going to be September 21 before gigs return. I
know. I've heard the same. Everything I see on the news is just doom and gloom, and it's like, it's definitely hard times,
Yeah.
But I'm trying to keep positive, and I haven't been practicing that much trumpet actually lately, but
no, I've been a bit demotivated as well, to be honest.
So when you haven't got anything to practice for, it's like, but if I had a gig tomorrow, I'd be nowhere because I haven't played trumpet in about 3 weeks, apart from recording in the studio. But
but that's not recording, isn't. I can't remember who it was who told me it once, but it was a respected trumpet player. It will probably come back to me later in the interview, but they were saying that doing a recording session for somebody, you shouldn't or a gig, you shouldn't count that as your day's practice.
Not at all.
You're not really improving by doing that, are you? You're maintaining at the very best. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, when you're on a gig, you're playing constantly, and it's a lot more demanding on a gig, obviously.
But doing a few licks with somebody in the studio. I mean, I've done studio sessions where you're playing like 3 notes, and that you can't really count that as your day's practice, can you?
Not at all. No. But I mean, I've got no gigs till further notice, really.
Yeah.
So I'm not motivated to practice at the moment. But to be honest, I'm enjoying the time off.
That kind of I'm going to actually jump. I've got my sort of list of points in front of me, and I'm going to jump to the last one. When you say you've got no gigs until further notice, the anxiety is something that comes in. It comes in on the road a lot, but you've actually just made me think it's probably something that's kicking in now a lot with people, where with people who tour, well, not just musicians, but other people in the entertainment business, and they get so used to being on the road. And I was saying to the last person I interviewed is that you end up being in a kind of bubble. People talk about Westminster being a bubble, or in certain things being a bubble. I think you're definitely in a bubble when you're on the road, and I know my life off the road is very different to on the road. So it's a bit strange thinking that we're not going to have that kind of, obviously that laugh you have. The crack with the lads is like, it's one of the main drivers really for touring. I don't know about you, but
it keeps you going, doesn't it?
It does absolutely. And you guys, when I remember, it's been a while now, but when I booked you guys in Leicester at the Musician, I remember thinking how you all seemed like a real egoless team, and you were about delivering a great show. You're about playing great music. It wasn't really a big personalities clash like you see in some bands.
I mean, we're all pretty down to earth guys, and we're not really egotistical. It's just all about the vibe, really.
I remember you being sort of quite undiva-like, and the band I'd booked, I won't name names, but the band I'd booked before you guys were really, really demanding. They got there at like 3 PM, and obviously 3 PM, the PA's just sort of being set up and things like that. And it wasn't a venue that was set up for live gigs. We kind of put it in there. And we got there, and straight away the singer shook my hand. He wasn't rude or anything, but he shook my hand and he said, "Right, where's the rider at then, Gaz?" Like that. And I thought, bloody hell, mate, it's off 3, you have not had a chance to go to the supermarket yet and things like that. Whereas when you guys got to the Musician, I said, "Oh, food-wise, you didn't get back to me." And he said, "Oh, I'll just order some pizzas in, that'd be fine." So it was like the polar opposite, you know what I mean? It's just, and I'm like that as well. I'm like, I think, well, as long as like you get your basic, it's like hierarchy of needs, isn't it? As long as you get your basic kind of needs covered, and obviously you get paid, then you don't really need all the flowery stuff on top, do you?
I mean, life is definitely too short for aggro about food on gigs,
Absolutely, yeah. And you get some people who are really, really divish about it, and it's it kind of gives us a bad reputation, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've met a few divas over the years on the road,
Yeah.
Especially with some of the bigger names I've worked with, it's just there's some I've worked with some nightmarish people over the years.
Yeah,
not gonna mention any names.
No, of course not. One thing I want to talk about is, and it's subject of a blog that I'm looking to launch, is the whole original songs versus covers argument. Before we start that, I'm going to play a cover that you guys have done, because I know, great. As you know, I pick a song and you pick a couple. And this has been forever my favourite Haggis Horns tune, and I'll always
nice one.
I'll do that classic fan thing which is annoying, I know, as an artist or a band, is I give the new tracks a listen. I think, oh yeah, that's good. Yeah. Anyway, let's listen to that old one. Who's going to take the weight?
Thank you very much.
And that whole album's brilliant, actually. To be fair,
thank you very much.
Really,
that's
really
very,
good.
Very, very kind.
So we're going to play Who's Going to Take the Weight. so that was Who's Gonna Take the Weight by Haggis Horns, and that is a cover. You informed me before we went on air, so to speak, that's actually a cover, isn't it?
Yeah. It's an early Kool and the Gang cover, actually.
And what made you pick that to go on that album?
Well, we were always massive Kool and the Gang fans, especially the earlier sort of period, 1969 to 1976, I guess. Just a lot of their instrumental stuff kind of definitely influenced us a lot. We got into them. We were quite young, in our early 20s, I guess. And
it's like Earth, Wind and Fire, isn't it? The instrumental stuff is really it's on fire in it at times. It really is.
Totally.
Excuse the pun.
Yeah, exactly. And emphasis was always on the horns, and so we were into any band that had funky horns, and just we were always dead passionate about stuff like that.
Just played a cover, obviously, and you were saying before we went on to on air. I keep saying on air, but this isn't going to be broadcast live. But you were saying that it was one of kind of 2 to 4 covers across the same number of albums, 4 albums or whatever. So obviously you're not big on that. You're more about writing your own stuff. But who does the writing in the band, and why the steer towards original stuff over covers?
Well, it's funny because we started off as as covers band, really. The early Haggis Horns band was a completely different lineup. We had a residency in a club in Leeds called Tequila at the time. It was a brand new band. We were just doing covers. It was a kind of rare funk and
or kind of jazz funk stuff.
But yeah, kind of bluesy, kind of blue notey, funky type stuff. And we were just starting out, really. And we got a bit of a following doing that. We got big crowds every week, and then there was a bit of an argument with us in the club, and the club were getting a bit arsey, and they were taking too long to pay us and stuff like that. And our girlfriends would turn up to the club, and our girlfriends were getting turfed out as we were waiting for the money, and we were like, wait a minute, this.
Oh God!
It was. Big arguments going on. And
I can imagine.
So we all agreed as a band to sort of quit the club, and then kind of behind our backs, 3 of the band members actually went back and did it as a trio gig, and we were like, what? We just couldn't believe it, and we were like flabbergasted that they did that after we agreed never to play there again.
That's a golden rule, isn't it? If you agree not to play somewhere as a band.
So at that point, I thought, well, let's just start another band. And then I got all my favourite players together, and I thought in my head, I remember phoning up Athol, and I just said, let's start a new band, let's get such and such as a drummer, and blah blah blah, and then we just put this new band together, and we thought, right, well, let's just rehearse every week. We found this pub in Leeds, and we started rehearsing there upstairs in this pub, and we just thought, well, let's just make it an originals band and just jam every week and write our own stuff. So we basically wrote our first album in this pub, the Cardigan Arms in Leeds, and and that was kind of the starting point of the whole thing.
Do you have a, obviously this podcast is mainly talking about being on the road, but I'm interested in obviously songwriting and creativity myself. Is it a thing where you have 1 or 2 main writers in the band, and then they bring the stuff to the band and go, "This is what you got to play, guys," or is it a more collaborative thing? Because there's 7 of you, 7 of you, isn't there? Is there 6 or 7?
Well, there's 8 with the singer.
8. Oh, right, yeah.
In the early days, it was different because we were writing as a whole band, and we'd write. The whole writing process was different because we were just jamming as a band. But
those jams become songs, don't they?
Yeah, and as time went on, people were just too busy to always commit to rehearsing. So we gradually built up our own recording studio, and we gradually improved it. And then kind of the writing process changed, but also the lineup changed as well. We had two or three different bass players. We went through two or three different drummers as well, and keyboard players. And now that we've settled on our current lineup, we've built the studio up. The main writers are me, Athel, and Ben. So we just sort of stick to three of us, and once all the stuff's written, we get the guys in, and it's just kind of easier that way, you know.
And how do you treat getting the new songs in as opposed to the old stuff? Because if I came to see you guys now, and it's annoyed me because basically I used to run Funk Nation in Leicester, and I know you guys have you've done gigs for Funk Nation since, haven't you? Since you're in Leicester. Or have you not?
Yeah, I think so.
I think you've done one, and I thought I've got to get down to that because I left the business and Heath carried it on. My old business partner, he carried it on and has made a good success of it. And I saw you guys and I thought I've got to get down there because I remember the previous 2 times you played Leicester, I was there on one of them. And then the other, I was on tour myself. There's a problem with, but that was, well, I don't do it anymore. But that was the problem with being a promoter and a musician. And I remember thinking and you did play Who's Going to Take the Weight at the time, but I think it was quite freshly out at that time. You know, it was only a couple of years old. Obviously, it's quite an old track now.
Yeah.
How do you balance the set? Because if I came to see you now, I'll be honest, I'd be disappointed if I didn't hear that number. Do you know what I mean? Because because I'm a sort of fan going back a long time, so it's difficult, isn't it? Because you try and please yourself, but you've got to please the paying punters as well.
Totally. I mean, obviously, the more albums you make, it gets tricky to please everyone. But we've got our 5th album coming out next month. I mean, the set's massively changed over the years, but we still definitely try and fit our early tunes in, and we still play Who's Going to Take the Weight sometimes, but not. We used to play it every gig, but we've just got so much more options now.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And you want it.
We still do it sometimes, but if someone asks us to play it,
Well, there you go then, Malc. When you come to Leicester, I'm asking you now. You got to play it, yeah?
Right?
And and the irony is, I probably won't be there because hopefully I'll be gigging myself if I ever do a gig again. I'm sure you're feeling a bit like that as well.
Yeah.
But
right, we'll count us in for that one. More than happy to do it.
Yeah, stick it in the set. I mean, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because you want to keep the set fresh for yourself, because I always think if you look like you're going through the motions and you look a bit kind of bored or drained, or I think an audience can tell it a mile off. I've seen bands where I've seen them one time and they've been fantastic, they've been full of zest, energy, and really, there's fire coming off the stage. You see them another time, and for whatever reason, maybe they're at the end of a tour or they're a bit hungover or whatever, and they're just really knackered and kind of, and they do go through the motions. And I think if you do that, and part of going through the motions can be playing the same old stuff, which you see it as the same old stuff. Obviously, it's a simple thing in it, but fans only see you every now and then, so to them it's not really old because they're not seeing it played live every week, are they? But it's even been a while since I've listened to that track, because you listen to other things. But it's a tricky balance.
I haven't heard that for years.
I mean, it's a tricky balance between keeping it fresh for yourselves, but also ticking the box of playing some of the hits, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Playing some of the tunes that have resonated with the public as well as your new stuff. Because the other extreme is you go and see a band and they say, right, we're going to do all new album tonight, and the fans groan because they're thinking, well, no, why don't you do the hits?
It's such a different thing from watching a band to actually being in the band and doing it. It's completely different concept, isn't it?
Absolutely. Talking of new material, and you've now got. I wasn't aware till recently that you had this kind of other side to you as an artist in your own right, and the new album's great, by the way. Really, really good. What I've heard of it, I've listened to 2 or 3 tracks. What were the coronavirus aside? What were the touring plans with that? Did you have any plans to tour that around? Because it's done quite well, hasn't it?
Well, it seems to be getting plenty of radio play, and I've been doing interviews for different magazines and whatever, and different DJs are spreading the word. So it's all. I don't have an exact figure if I'm sold, but I think it's doing all right, and seem to be getting good feedback. So. Yeah, no, it sounds great. Pretty nervous about the release, to be honest. Oh, thank you. I mean, it's always nerve-wracking doing a kind of first release, and you don't know how people are going to perceive it. But it's impossible to keep everyone happy, I guess.
Of course it is, yeah. It's that thing of when you've always been. I mean, like yourself, you've been associated with the Haggis Horns for years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's Malk from. That's how I refer to it. Oh yeah, Malk from Haggis Horns. Because we've got a mutual friend, Joe Hemmings, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
From Leicester. And that's how, when you come up in conversation, oh yeah, Malk from Haggis Horns, see, he posted this thing the other day or whatever, you know, or what an idiot. No, I'm joking. But you know, that's how we always refer to it, and that's the association. But now you're putting your head above the parapet. I can relate to this myself, as you're putting your head above the parapet and saying, actually, I've got an identity in my own right. It's different to the Haggis Horns, probably similar in some ways, but you know.
Yeah, and it's always been a dream of mine to make a jazz album, you know, with acoustic piano, acoustic bass sort of thing, and just sort of featuring the trumpet. You know, obviously I love the Haggis Horns, and it's great what it is, but it doesn't feature anyone in particular as an individual. And it's about the collective nature of it. But with my thing, obviously it features me more as a soloist and stuff, and it's different type of compositions, I guess.
Is it all original stuff on there? Is it?
I was kind of I got given a piano about 3 years ago by my auntie and uncle, and they want to keep it in the family. They shipped us a piano for free, and I just started messing about and it started getting better on the piano, and I thought, well, why not use the piano to write my own album? So just started messing about on it really. And
I mean, piano's piano. I always find piano's the best instrument to write on, really, because I can't play guitar or stringed instruments. I'm completely useless. You can't really write on horns. Well, you can, but I guess the Haggis Horns stuff, and I'm involved in a band called King Brastards, and we do a lot of the New Orleans kind of stuff, and you can write on horns in that because that's all riff based. But when you're writing sort of the jazz compositions, the horn line isn't enough. You need to be able to sit down at the piano, even if you're not a piano player as such. You need to be able to sit down.
I mean, I wouldn't say I was very adept at like soloing. I'm not a great soloist on piano, but I can figure out chords and use that as the basis for writing. So I guess the chord structures came first. Once I got the chord structures in place, then I sort of started imagining melody ideas over it. So I just built it up gradually, I guess.
And how will that going back to my original question, how will that translate live? What's the kind of end goal with that in terms of taking it out?
I'd love to make this new project my main thing. Obviously I was hoping to get it up and running by now, but obviously with the whole coronavirus thing, it's all gone to pot. But I was going to be doing some rehearsals last month for it, and I was hoping to get some jazz gigs. But it's obviously that's going to be have to be on hold at the moment. But
it's tough, isn't it? It's frustrating when you've got your kind of end goal in mind, and you know what it looks and sounds like, but there's nothing you can do to make it happen right now.
I'm absolutely itching to get the band up and running. I've got all the players and they're all up for it. So as soon as I get the chance, I'm just going to have some rehearsals and just get booking some gigs,
Well, we're going to play a track from the album now, Malk. We're going to play something from it. So can you tell us about this one?
Cool. This track's Uncle Bobby's Last Orders. It was inspired. Well, I think this track sort of sums up the album, really. For me, it's one of my favourites on the album, one I'm most proud of. I was just kind of messing about with the keyboard. I like the chord sequence, and it just it was kind of inspired by I was going through a difficult time at the time, with marriage breakup and stuff like that, and I channeled my energy into this track, Uncle Bobby's Last Orders.
Okay, yeah, new track from Malcolm's album there. Can you just sort of give us the details for listeners? Just give us the name of the album, where you can download, stream it, etc. Just quickly for us.
If you just go to Bandcamp, type in Malcolm Strachan, About Time, that's the best place to buy it. We get the best deal for that. So, yeah.
Excellent. Cool. Did you, just a quick question, this is curiosity on my part, really, a bit of self-indulgence, because another album of you guys that, excuse me, that I really like is the one you did with Doc Brown, where you featured him, because he's one of my favourite comedians. He actually, I went to see him and I was wearing a cap, flat cap sort of thing, and he ripped the shit out of me in this gig. It was quite funny from the stage.
He's a lovely guy.
Is he? Yeah. Well, I've never worked with him myself, but did you do any live stuff around that album? Because I didn't remember seeing anything, but it might have been just because I didn't see it.
You know? Well, whenever we played in London, we always get in touch with him, and we always say fancy getting up for the Take It Back track. And he's done about 4 or 5 gigs with us. Obviously, it's quite expensive getting them all around the country with us. You know, it's been such a large band, but every time we were in London, we always get in touch and say, and he's always up for doing it. So it always adds to the vibe, you know.
That's the thing, I guess, for a band of your guys' size. When you're in a horn section, your horn play, you're quite often part of big bands. It's that constant balancing the books, isn't it, as you go along on the road and trying to make ends meet.
It's really, when you're doing it for a living, you know, people in the audience, they probably think, oh, these guys are making loads of money, but it's not the case at all.
No, it's not. No.
You know, sometimes we're doing gigs for 120 quid each. You know.
And that's where you doing it for the love. Really, it's more of a passion thing, isn't it?
Exactly. If I was in it for the money, I would have given up a long time ago.
Yeah. That's it. I mean,
but we love it.
What I've found with you guys is you're that sort of band who can go to most cities and towns in the UK, and you'll always pull at least 100 people, 150 maybe, at the minimum. I mean, at kind of 10 quid a head upwards, you know, and those kind of numbers mean that you can make a gig work. Like you say, it might end up with the travel and everything that you're doing it for 120 quid, but you can make a gig work and you can make a gig happen. You can have a good night, and then maybe when you go back, there'll be 200 people there or 250, or there'd be a sort of increase because you guys are great. So it's that's I think that's the key, is that people think of touring as when you speak to a member of the public, they think of touring as an arena tour that a comedian does, or a stadium tour that Robbie Williams does, or whatever. And there's actually this whole big layer, well, lots of layers underneath it, isn't there? Where and there's a kind of, and I think people think of our business as either you're a Robbie Williams making millions and you're selling out. I don't know why I said, actually I do know why I said Robbie Williams, because he's on one of the lists of the people that you guys have worked with. But you know, you're Robbie Williams or whoever, and you're at that level making millions, or you're a struggling musician. And actually, there's a whole massive swathe in between, and there's a whole big touring industry in between, isn't there?
Absolutely. You can be playing with all these huge stars, and you can still be struggling for money. You know, and I've played with some big acts. I'm not going to start name dropping.
No.
I've been doing I've done tours around the world, and then but in between the tours, you've sometimes got not a lot on, and it's just trying to make ends meet is difficult even at the top level, unless you're the main artist. It's always it's not an easy life.
It's also that's where I get, and it's one thing the lockdown has taught me, is that's where you get other things on the go when the tours aren't there. So like you get teaching, get regular teaching on the go. You can get and there's a whole world of online stuff which I've not even scratched the surface of yet. In terms of doing your YouTube tutorials. I mean, you probably know Dennis Rollins, the trombone player.
I've never met him actually, but
have you not?
You probably know that his brother is in the Haggis Horns.
Yes, he's a drummer, isn't he? Yeah, he was telling me. Yeah, because I work with Dennis. I work with Dennis with De Montfort University, so I run the jazz band there, and Dennis is a like a patron of the jazz band. You know, he's a big supporter of it. He comes down and So we've become quite good mates. He's coming on the podcast later down the line as well. And when you're talking with him, he's always saying how, you know, he's always telling me you've got to get a video set up at home so you can do online tutorials on YouTube and get your lapel mic clipped onto your thing, and you know how it all links up. And as somebody who's not that techie, I'm like, oh my god, this just stresses me out. You know, why can't I just be on stage and somebody else sort that out? You know, the technical side. I mean,
to be honest, like teaching is for maybe a lot of people, a lot of musicians, but teaching's never been for me. I've never had the urge to teach. I don't know why. I've always wanted to be a player. And I know certain musicians that have fallen at the trap of teaching, and then they end up, you know, like sacking off gigs. Because I can't go there because I've got my teaching, you know. But I've always wanted to be the other way around. I wouldn't want to I wouldn't want to lose a gig because I'm teaching, you know.
No. Gigging comes first. I mean, I do a fair bit of teaching now, but gigging still comes number one for me, you know.
Yeah.
And all the people who employ me for teaching know that as well, you know. But then the other side of it is like you said, this lockdown thing is going to give us all a chance to expand our studio CVs, do more recording jobs for people, and utilize that, you know.
And people, they'll naturally get more creative, hopefully, you know. Yeah,
that's right. It's a good time for creativity. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Malcolm, thank you very much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
It's been good to chat to a fellow trumpet player.
Yeah, likewise.
And it's some interesting stuff in there. I hope you keep putting out great music, mate, because I've always been a big fan.
Oh, nice one. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate that. That's great.
Nice one. Take care.
Right, take care, man. All the best. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me for episode 3 of On the Road With. My guest was Malcolm Strachan, and what a lovely guest he was. Big thanks to Malcolm for taking part, and I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you like what you're hearing, please do follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcast fix. I'm now going to play you out with a track that Malcolm actually played the trumpet solo on for Jamiroquai. It's Smile. Take care now. Bye-bye.